I was on the porch when my 9-year-old granddaughter slipped beside my chair. The party was loud and bright balloons on the fence, paper plates, music from a Bluetooth speaker. My son at the grill with tongs like he was the captain of a ship. The air smelled like charcoal and frosting. She leaned close, eyes scanning the yard. "Grandpa," she whispered, "my parents are going to take your house tonight." I kept my face steady. "I hear you," I said. "Me." She nodded, small and brave, then ran back to the yard where the kids had made the maple tree base in their game of tag. "My name is Henry Walker. Most folks call me Hank. I'm 74. I wired houses for 44 years and loved one woman, Evelyn, 452. She's been gone 3 years now. I still set a second coffee cup out on some mornings and then put it back. Which is how grief keeps you honest." Earlier that morning, my son called. Nathan never calls at 7 a.m. unless a tire is bald or a plan is about to spill. "Dad, I need you to hear me out," he said. His voice had that tight edge I remembered from when he was 17 and dented my Ford. "Clara and I were talking. We think it's important you come early to Lily's party today." "Early," I said. "I've never missed one of her birthdays." "Party starts at 2, but maybe come around 1:30. We've got some family stuff to talk through." Family stuff is what men say when they mean paperwork you won't like. I told him I'd be there early and hung up. The kettle hummed. The ocean beyond my porch rolled slow and silver, like it always does in the morning if the wind is right. I stared at the oak table Evelyn loved and let the uneasy feeling sit. Hours later on that same porch, Lily clutched my sleeve and told me what she'd heard. The words weren't big, but they carried weight. "You're too old to live here alone," her mother had said in the kitchen last night. "We'll have him sign the bank papers before the cake," Nathan had asked. "What if he finds out?" And Clara had said, "By then it'll be done." I knelt until we were eye to eye. "You did the right thing," I said. "For now, it stays between us." She bit her lip. "Will you still love me if they get mad?" "Nothing they do could ever change how much I love you," I said. "Go help your mom with napkins so she thinks you're busy." From the porch, I watched Nathan laugh with neighbors, his gestures big, his voice bigger. Clara rested a hand on his arm and looked over my yard the way a realtor looks at a listing assessing, measuring, reorganizing things that weren't hers. My daughter, Erin, checked her watch and scrolled her phone. Her husband, Derek, stood with a craft beer like he'd earned it. I stood. "Going to get ice," I said, loud enough for 3 people to nod at me and not really hear. I didn't drive to the gas station. I drove to Heritage Federal on Maple, where the branch manager, Denise Harper, knows my name and my habit of counting out loud. She sat me in her office with a glass of water and a pen that worked. "Denise," I said, "I need to put a fence up around my life before sundown." "You're not the first man to say that in this chair," she said. "Go ahead." My son and his wife are going to try to get me to sign something today. Power of attorney, deed transfer, who knows. "Want every trap I can set? Set. Start simple," she said, typing, "2-factor authentication on every account. No phone or address changes without you in person. Remove any authorized users from your cards. Alerts for every transaction. Beneficiaries reviewed and confirmed." "And the big thing," I said. She nodded. "We put the house in accounts. Into a revocable living trust. You keep full control while you're alive and competent. You name a successor trustee you trust. That puts one more door between your assets and anyone waiving papers." "I'll need a lawyer," I said. "I brought one," she said, smiling. "Well, I called one. Elder law." "Why?" "She works fast when it's urgent." "Rachel Kim?" "She's 5 minutes away." Rachel Kim arrived with a notary and a yellow legal pad. She had a calm face and the kind of voice people listen to without feeling pushed. "Tell me what you want to protect," she said. "My house," I said, "my accounts, my choices, my granddaughter." She nodded and began to build a fence with words. "We draft a revocable living trust with you as trustee. We title the house into the trust. I'll e-record the deed today so it's on record before your dinner plates are stacked. We put your main accounts under the trust's tax ID. We write a durable power of attorney naming someone you choose, not your son. We limit it to the things you want. We add a healthcare directive with your voice in it. We add a no contest clause to your will. So if someone fights the trust, they risk getting nothing. Who should be my successor trustee? I asked. Someone steady, she said. Not Nathan or Clara, a friend. A professional. Both. My neighbor Walt, I said. He's 80, but he's sharper than a lot of 50-year-olds. Pair. Him with a trust department that answers the phone when the world is sideways. Done, she said. We'll also enroll your property in the county's fraud alert program. If anyone tries to file a deed with your address on it, you get an email. Like polite alarms, I said. We worked for 2 hours. The notary stamped where Rachel pointed. Denise printed confirmations. Rachel sent the deed to the recorder. With a click, filed, she said. The house is now titled to the Henry Walker Living Trust, with you as trustee. Anyone who tries to wave papers at you tonight is waving at a fence. One more thing, I said. I want to set aside some money for Lily's future that her parents can't touch. A 529 education plan is good, Rachel said. But if you want a bigger umbrella, we can create a sub-trust for your grandchildren inside this trust. The trustee can pay for school, trades, or anything that makes sense for them. Parents don't get a say, do it, I said. Set up a small fund for tools and trade fees at the high school. Evelyn liked when kids learned with their hands, Rachel wrote. Denise filled numbers, I signed. I left with a folder, a list, and a plan. On the way back, I stopped at the county sheriff's substation. I'd like to ask for a civil standby tonight, I told the deputy at the desk. My kids may try to force me to sign legal papers I don't want to sign. I don't want to fight. I want peace. Deputy Collins looked like he could lift a refrigerator and read a poem. We can have a unit do a drive-by, he said. If you call, we'll come. The word you'll use is harassment. If you say you feel threatened, we take it seriously. Thank you, I said. If you see balloons and potato salad, that's me. I did buy ice then, to make my lie halfway honest. I drove home the long way so I could feel the road and let the nerves settle. When I turned onto my street, kids were chalking on the sidewalk, and a neighbor waved with a plate of deviled eggs in her hand. Which is how you know you live in a decent place. Inside, the manila envelope was waiting on my kitchen counter. Pen lay on top like a little silver snake. I set Rachel's card next to it and slid her printed notice. I do not sign legal documents without my attorney present on top, Dad. Nathan called from the yard. We're about to sing. We sang. I made a wish that felt like a prayer and blew out the candles. People clapped. The kids dove for the corner pieces where the frosting is thick as a quilt. Then Nathan raised his chin at Clara. Clara walked into the kitchen with the envelope and her hostess smile. Henry, she said in the tone people use when they're about to ask you to loan them your truck. If we could just take care of a little housekeeping while everyone's here. Saves time later. She slid the papers toward me and tapped a yellow flag where my name was printed above durable power of attorney. Behind it, a quitclaim deed sat like a rattle in a snake's tail. Just sign there, she said, holding out the pen. I smiled like a man offered seconds. Clara, I said, if it's truly small, it can wait until Tuesday at my attorney's office. We don't do paperwork at birthday parties. It's 2 minutes, she said. Sweet. That's funny, I said. Because the only people who tried to get me to sign something I didn't ask for were standing in my kitchen with party plates on the table. Henry, Clara said, tilting her head. You're overreacting. We're family, we are, I said, which is why you're still in my house after trying to kick my life out from under me in front of the coleslaw. Someone laughed then. Walt. It broke the spell. A couple neighbors took their cue and drifted toward the yard. The air loosened. I didn't push. Let the party fade the way summer afternoons do. People hugged me on the porch and pressed paper, plates into my hands. Erin moved a stack of cups and said, I'm sorry, so quiet I almost missed it. I squeezed her shoulder and didn't make it bigger. By 8, its only family was left, and Lily was asleep on the couch with a smear of frosting. On her chin, the room smelled like coffee and candles. Ow. The ocean shushed beyond the windows. Okay, Nathan said low. For real? What did you do? I told them. Plain and simple. I put my house and savings into a trust with me in charge. I set aside money for the grandkids' education and for a tool fund at the high school. I named Walt and a bank as co-trustees. After me, I picked a healthcare agent who won't keep me alive for the house. I wrote a will with a no cantus clause. I enrolled in the county deed fraud alert. I removed you from every account and froze anything you could move with a phone call. If you cannot be kind about this, you will be distant. You're going to cut us out, Nathan said, jaw tight. I'm going to cut you out of decisions you've shown me you can't be trusted with, I said. When I die, you'll still receive part of what your mother and I built, slow and steady. If you try to fight that, it goes to kids with tool belts and nursing techs in good hands. Dad, he started. Enough, I said, not cruel. We're done with this tonight. He stood, hands empty. Lara gathered plates that didn't need gathering. Aaron kissed my head and tucked Lily's hair behind her ear the way Evelyn used to do for her. After the door closed, I sat at the table and let my breath catch up. The house hummed like a thing that had decided to stay standing. Tuesday, we met at Rachel's office like adults are supposed to. The room was bright and nobody shouted. Rachel explained in her careful way what a trust is and is not. This isn't punishment, she said. It's planning. Your father remains fully in control. He simply made it so none of you can change that with a surprise pen. Clara said we were scared. Rachel said, fear is the worst lawyer. Nathan said, he could have told us. Rachel said, he did. Last night. They signed a polite acknowledgement that they had been told not to present legal documents to me without Rachel present. Rachel smiled the way professionals do when they get to file a paper that might actually prevent a headache for once. Life doesn't stay quiet because you ask it to. A week later, a cousin I don't see unless someone is being buried sent me a message. Heard you're losing it? If you need me to step in, I can. I didn't answer. I made coffee. I wound the little clock Evelyn loved. I watered the geranium she pretended not to like and kept anyway because it reminded her of her grandmother. I took Haley to the bank to open a savings account with her name and no one else's, $50 to start, and a printout with her balance in bold. This is for a thing you choose when your brain can vote, I said. Not slime. Shh. Grinned like her mother when she was 5 and said, okay. Rumors ran. They always do. A neighbor asked if I was okay with the tone of someone sticking a thermometer under your tongue. I am, I said, thanks to an attorney, a banker, a deputy, and a 9-year-old with better sense than some adults. I did something. Else the week after the party, I moved my birthday. I called the event center in town on a Monday and said, do you have the small room Thursday night? We do, the woman said. Are you celebrating? Yes, I said. I'm celebrating. Offense. I invited the right people, Walt and his niece. Denise from the bank, Deputy Collins, Rachel, the librarian who saved Evelyn's reading list when she started to lose names, my pastor who doesn't preach at dinner, 2 kids from the high school auto shop who just got apprenticeships, Aaron, and Derek, Nathan, and Clara, and Lily, of course, because she started the whole thing. We ate pot roast and green beans and pie that tasted like Tuesdays. I stood up and raised my water glass. To Lily, I said, and she hid her face and peered around the rim of her cup like a rabbit, for telling the truth. To the people in this room who make the truth easier to live with. To Evelyn, for teaching me that love is a chain and a gate, and you need both. Then I did the thing nobody expected. I handed 3 envelopes across the table. 1 for the library, I said to Mrs. Lawson. 1 for the food pantry, I said to Pastor Jim. 1 for the school's tool fund, I said to Teresa from the high school. The trust is still mine while I live. I'm just starting the work a little early so money can be useful and not mean. Nathan stared at the plates. Clara stared at the ceiling. Erin covered her mouth and nodded at me like I had found her. In a crowd, after, when the lights were low and the lantern cords hung like quiet lines, Nathan came up. I'm sorry, he said. Finally, the way a grown man does when he's done practicing excuses. I was afraid. It made me greedy. Fear makes bad math, I said. You can fix math, he laughed. It sounded like the boy who used to bring me screws and pretend he found them himself. I'll mow Wednesday, he said. Bring my own gas. Bring donuts, I said. For the old men who still think they can lift a ladder. We went home, Lily asleep in the back seat, her head tipping, her hair catching light from the street lamps. I put my hand on the dashboard and said, thanks to no one in particular, the house looked like it had been waiting. I stuck Rachel's letter on the fridge next to a magnet that says, no signing at parties. I wrote a note under it in my own hand. If future me forgets, call Rachel or the deputy or Denise or me from 3 days ago who knew what to do. If that fails, call Lily. She'll remind you I slept well for the first time in a long time. The ocean breathed. The clock ticked. The house stayed put. The next test didn't wait long. 2 weeks later, I woke up with a tightness in my chest. That felt like grief or a bad sandwich. I sat down and breathed slow. I called my doctor who told me to come in now, and on the way I texted Aaron. Don't panic. Taking myself in, I'll keep you posted. I also texted Rachel, if this turns into a hospital day, can you be on standby? Always, she wrote back. At the clinic, they ran the usual tests. Not a heart attack, the doctor said. Esophageal spasm. Scary cousin of heartburn. I laughed, even though it hurt. I'll take the cousin, I said. While I was in the little gown that doesn't cover much, Nathan called the clinic 3 times to get details and was told every time your father's privacy is his, unless he says otherwise. He texted me after, you put me on the HIPAA thing, right? I texted back, I put Aaron and Rachel. Gonna have details when I tell you. He replied, okay. It was a small word and a good sign. I went home with a bottle of pills and a list of foods that had just been demoted in my kitchen. I made toast and laughed because cinnamon was still okay. I sat at the table and wrote call Lily to teach me how to use her savings app on a blue index card because it helps to keep learning on purpose. I taped the card inside the cabinet because the fridge was getting crowded with wisdom. There's more to tell. Of course there is. People talk. Papers get slid across counters in new ways. A cousin I barely see shows up with ideas. 2 days after the clinic scare, the rumor mill started up the way it always does. Here's low at first, then louder, like a kettle that refuses to be quiet. A cousin I only see at funerals called and said, heard you're not making decisions. Great these days, Hank. If you need me to step in, I can. I told him I was fine and hung up. He texted anyway with the name of a guy who does paperwork, which is family code for a man with a printer and a gift for trouble. I didn't burn energy on it. I made coffee. I wound the little clock Evelyn loved. I watered the geranium. She used to pretend she didn't like and kept because it reminded her of her grandmother. Then I took Lily to the bank to open a savings account with just her name. $50 to start and a printout with her balance in bold. This is for a thing you choose when your brain can vote, I said, not slime. She grinned in the exact way her mother did when she was 5 and said, okay. The first real test of all the fences came on a Thursday afternoon when I got an email from the county recorder, alert document filed referencing 14 Ocean View. That's my place. The trust deed had already recorded last week, so this was new. I called Rachel. She answered on the first ring. Forward it, she said. I did. She whistled low. It's a notice of interest, she said. Filed by a home investor out of Phoenix. It's a trick some of them use to cloud title and scare owners into calling. They can't take the house, but it can make a sale or refinance miserable. If it sits, what do we do? I asked. We file to expunge it, she said. I'll email the recorder and the court tonight. We'll get a call. If anyone contacts you in the meantime, don't answer. If anyone shows up, call Deputy Collins. Is this Nathan? The question came out of my mouth before I asked my mouth to be polite. No, she said. This is someone scraping public filings and hoping you panic. You didn't. Good. An hour later, my phone rang. Mr. Walker. It was the recorder's office. He flagged that as suspicious, too. Your attorney's already on it. We'll notify the filer to withdraw or face a hearing. How long? A week if they fight? The clerk said. A day if they're lazy. They were lazy. By morning, a second email arrived. Notice withdrawn. Rachel sent a thumbs-up emoji. She felt too young for both of us, and exactly right. Word still got around. Someone told someone I was in a legal thing. By the weekend, The version in the diner had me fighting my own children in court. I went in and ordered eggs and bacon and kept my face calm. Two men at the counter turned to stare. I raised my coffee mug and said, "Don't worry. I'm not changing my name or running away with the waitress." They laughed. Mostly because they didn't know what else to do. Nathan came by that afternoon with his mower and a small box of donuts. Got to work without asking what I wanted, which used to irritate me and now felt like a small gift. He cut the front, then the back, then edged the walk, like a man who had seen other men notice a straight line. When he was done, he stood by the porch rail and looked like he was trying to decide whether to apologize again or make a joke. "Don't ask me for money," he said not unkindly. He grinned and winced at the same time. "That obvious? Get a face when you've rehearsed a speech and it keeps changing in your mouth," I said. "If you need something, say it straight. If you need a handout, say it straighter. Then we can say no, or maybe." He sat on the top step. "My truck needs a new transmission," he said. "And no, it's not a metaphor. 8,000 if I do it right. I have 2. I need 6. I won't hand you 6,000, I said, but I'll do this. I'll match the first 2 you earn with a side job and the first 2 you save by cutting spending. Bring me receipts, we'll make up to 4. We'll talk about the rest if you still need it. And you have to take that financial class Jenna found at the community center. If you skip class, the match stops." He stared at the grass like it had an answer. "That's fair," he said finally. "Annoying, but fair. Fair's better." "Then easy," I said. "Easy goes away." 3 weeks later, he came back with a man's pride in his hands for pay stubs. 2 invoices from a Saturday remodel, a receipt showing he canceled a gym membership and moved to running on the beach. I matched his too. He went back out and earned the other 2. He looked different after. Not bigger, not smaller. It's just honest. The roof did the thing all roofs do at the exact wrong moment. It whined in heavy rain and then admitted water in. A line that looked like a map under the dining room light. The old me would have gotten up on a ladder with a tube of goop and a prayer. The new me called a roofer with a license, sent the estimate to the trust email Rachel had set up and let the trustee me approve it in writing. The bill got paid from the trust account I controlled. No one in my family had to wonder if I was climbing on something I shouldn't or cutting a check I couldn't cash. It was boring. It was beautiful. Clara tried one more angle by proxy. Envelope arrived from a law office in a building with granite floors. "Dear Mr. Walker," it began, "we represent concerned family members who are worried that recent changes to your estate plan were made under undue influence or diminished capacity. Please contact us so we can resolve this amicably." I forwarded it to Rachel. She wrote back, "Do not reply." Then she sent them her own letter in that voice that peels paint while remaining polite. Said 3 things in 3 paragraphs. He met with me alone. He passed a capacity check I conducted. He's not interested in your comments about his plan. She CC'd a doctor who had seen me last month. He sent a note that said, "Henry's fine. Also, stop practicing medicine without a license." The law office went quiet. Erin, meanwhile, showed up on Thursdays with a bag of groceries and no lecture. She asked if I'd show her where the stop valve was for the water main. "If I'm going to panic someday, I want to do something useful while I do it," she said. I showed her the valve, the gas shutoff, the panel and the breaker that always trips. She took notes on an index card and taped it inside the pantry door. "We like doors with instructions in this family," she said. Lily kept surprising me. We were on the porch one evening watching pelicans fly like the world had set up an air show just for us. She had a notebook and a chewed pencil and a look that said, "I am up to something, Grandpa. Do you think a kid can make a scholarship?" She asked for who. "For kids like Trey," she said. "He lives on our street. He fixes bikes for everyone. He wants tools. His mom says tools cost more than birthdays. How much do you think a good set costs?" I asked. $300, she said. I asked the man at the hardware store. He didn't ignore me because I said I was doing research. "What are you going to do about it?" I asked, trying not to grin so hard I got in the way of her plan. "Bake sale," she said. "And a thing at school where people put change in jars and the class that gets the most gets a pizza party." Mom said I have to call it something better than give us your pennies. Can I use the name tools in school? You can, I said. And I can go to the hardware store with you when you're ready to buy? We will not let him leave with junk. The school let her do it because Mrs. Ramirez, who runs 4th grade like a country, likes kids who turn verbs into nouns. Lily made posters with a hammer she drew that looked like it wanted to help. She asked our neighbors for cookie donations. I made 3 pans of brownies that did not embarrass us, and 1 that did, and we fed it to the gulls. Aaron stood at the table with her and said, "Card or cash?" In a voice that made people laugh and open their wallets, Clara came and bought 6 bracelets and didn't leave. We did. We took Trey to the hardware store and put a real set in his hands. He touched the ratchet like it was a violin. You sure? He asked twice. We're sure, Lily said. It's for the bike shop you already have in your head. 30 days later, I saw a sign on his fence. Tune-ups $5. He undercharged, of course. That's the kind of kid who sets up a booth with a jar and a smile. We can talk price later, I told him. For now, keep the jar where people can see it and use both hands. What shocked everyone came a week after that. It wasn't me. This time, it was Lily. The school had a Grandfriends Day. Grandparents and any older person who wants to show up with a story and patience. The auditorium smelled like crayons and coffee. Kids sang a song I didn't know and pretended to like it. Then Mrs. Ramirez said, "We have one more thing. Lily Walker would like to read something she wrote. I didn't know she was going to do it." She stood on that little stage with her ponytail and her paper, and the look she gets when she's decided fear can live in the back seat. She read, "Sometimes grown-ups say family stuff, and they mean paper that changes a house. My grandpa says not to sign things at parties. He says a fence is love if you put a gate in it. I told him a secret and he didn't make me feel like a spy. He made me feel like a person. Want to be the kind of person who makes people feel like a person. If you are a kid and you think you should tell a thing, tell it to someone who knows what to do with it. If you are a grown-up and a kid tells you a thing, don't make them carry it alone." The room was quiet in that big way that does not belong to quiet at all, it belongs to attention. I felt my face get hot. Erin reached over and squeezed my knee like she was holding me inside the chair. Nathan looked at me and nodded once, really nodded, the way you do when your kid teaches you something you didn't know you needed. Afterward, Mrs. Ramirez came over with a tissue and a grin. She asked if she could, she said. I told her yes if she didn't name names, and if she remembered to breathe. Did both. On the way out, a man I don't know, bold glasses, work boots, touched my arm. I needed to hear that, he said. I haven't signed anything at a party in 30 years, but I may have signed too much in kitchens. We both laughed, because you either laugh or make a scene. That weekend, a flyer showed up in the mail for something that looked official and wasn't home title protection. As a gift to our seniors, sign and return. I took it to the coffee shop and taped it to the bulletin board with a note in my own shaky hand. This is marketing, not protection. Visit the Recorder's website for free alerts. Don't mail your information to strangers. People tore off the bottom with Rachel's website on it, like we were giving away concert tickets. Denise at the bank called me and said you should bill me for outreach. I told her to put a little sign by the teller window with the same words instead. She did. More letters came from men with nice letterhead and bad ideas. Rachel handled them with replies so short even my electrician hands approved of the efficiency. A notary knocked one afternoon with a document she wanted me to sign as a courtesy to a family member. I kept the door screen latched and asked her who hired her. A friend, she said. Which friend? I asked. She didn't say. Then the answer is no, I said. Also, please don't come back here with a pen unless I invited you, and my attorney is in the room. She left. Deputy Collins called 10 minutes later because someone had said I'd been rude to a public servant. He laughed when I told him. Notaries are not public servants, he said. They know better. Good job. People used the trust the way it was meant to be used. The roof got fixed. The plumber got paid. The Tool Fund sent 3 kids to a Saturday OSHA class that made their mothers sleep better. The library's furnace didn't die. The food pantry paid their electric bill on time without pretending they weren't cold. Every time a check went out, a little of the fear that had clung to me in the kitchen that Day Manila enveloped on the counter fell away. Nathan and Clara kept showing up in the right ways. He mowed. He brought donuts. Took the financial class and told me he learned about sinking funds and decided to make one for car repair so he never had to ask me like that again. Clara started volunteering one Saturday a month at the tool program with Teresa and discovered she is very good at handing kids zip ties and telling them they are useful. Aaron learned where the shutoff valve is and showed to neighbors where theirs are. Lily put $6 a week in her account and $3 a week in the jar on Trey's fence for anyone whose bike seat was too low. I kept a copy of Rachel's letter on my fridge and a magnet that says no signing at parties and a blue card with the phone numbers of the banker, the lawyer, the deputy, the doctor. I added one more number to the bottom in Lily's careful handwriting. It says, Lily 4 when brains get loud. On my birthday, the real one, not the Thursday we moved it to. We didn't throw a party. We grilled 2 steaks because Lily says I have to eat vegetables, but she also knows steak makes me happy. We ate. At the picnic table, Evelyn and I built in 1983. The ocean breathed. The clock ticked. The house stayed put when I blew out a single candle because I refused to buy one of those big numbers. Lily leaned close and whispered, Grandpa, shh, if anyone ever tries to take your house again. I smiled. They can't, I said. Built fences and gates, and we learned which ones to open. She nodded, satisfied, and put another $1 in her jar. For Trey's wrench set, she said, he wants one that clicks. I like clicky sounds, I said. Me too, she said. They sound like things being right. We sat in the clean air after our storm, under a sky that keeps being more blue than I expect, and I thought about the day a small hand tugged my sleeve and a whisper undid a plan. I thought about what I did next, how it shocked the people who needed shocking, how it saved me from a quieter kind of losing. I thought about the trust that is ink, and the trust that is people, and the way both are fragile and both are strong. If you look after them, and I thought about Evelyn, of course. I told her in my head what we did, and I could hear her laugh a sound that says, you took too long. She got there. Asterisk, a week after Lily read her piece at Grandfriend's Day, another kind of Tess walked in wearing a suit and a smile. A man rang my bell mid-morning. I let the screen stay latched. He held up a leather folder the way people hold up crosses in movies. Mr. Walker? I'm with Harbor and Lowell, he said. We've been retained by interested family to ensure your affairs are in order. We'd like to file a temporary guardianship just to help so no one takes advantage. There was that phrase again. It's just to help. No, I said. You can leave your card if you need practice. You can also tell whoever sent you that if they want to talk about me, they can do it with my attorney in the room, he pushed. Sir, this is urgent. Our petition can be filed today. We'll need to see your medicine cabinet. The judge will. Ask if the judge will ask my attorney, I said. And if you come back, she'll ask a deputy why you don't know how to leave a porch. He went down the steps with the dignity of a man who didn't expect to be told no by someone older than him. I called Rachel. Another one, she said, sounding tired and amused. I'll check the docket, she called back an hour later. Of course, she said. Cousin filed Dale. Emergency temporary guardianship based on concerned reports from unnamed parties, Dale. I said we've spoken 3 times in 10 years, twice at funerals, once at a hockey game where he forgot my name. He's an interested person under the statute, she said. In this state, almost anyone can file. But they still have to win. They won't. We'll file a response today with your capacity letter. The judge will appoint a court visitor to come see you. Your doctor will send a note. If Dale is unwise enough to push it, the judge can make him pay our fees. And if the visitor shows up when I'm cranky, offer coffee, she said. Tell jokes you can repeat in court. The visitor, a woman named Tanya with a clipboard, and the calm of a kindergarten teacher, came on. A man who makes a list on a card before I arrive, she said, nodding at the blue index by my mug. A house that doesn't feel like a storage unit. Fridge with a note that says not to sign things at parties. A dog-eared folder with a trust on top and not under a bed. A granddaughter's drawing on the pantry door. A man who can tell me who the governor is and what he ate for breakfast and the address of the house he wired in 1981 that had the stubborn breaker? Beachside, B&B, I said. Still calls me when the dryer sulks. She smiled. I'll write that, she said. At the hearing, Dale sat with a lawyer who kept adjusting his tie like it was strangling him. Ow. Dale had the look people wear when they think an event will make them important. Rachel spoke for me. She didn't attack. She presented capacity letter, visitor report, the trust, the tools fund. My list of people I call before I panic. The judge listened without interrupting, which is a small kindness that should be in all jobs. Mr. Walker, the judge said finally, peering over her glasses. Do you understand what a guardianship would mean? Less life and more paperwork, I said. People laughed because it was true. Petition denied, she said. In that tone, judges get to use when they enjoy their work. Mr. Dale, be careful. The court is not a place to resolve family disagreements over money. If I see this again without new facts, I will consider fees. On the steps afterward, Dale tried to look wounded and righteous. We were just trying to don't finish that sentence, Rachel said. You'll be wrong. He swallowed whatever it was and went home to whatever life makes a man think guardianship is a shortcut. A storm came 2 weeks later. It's the big kind that makes the weather app apologize. The ocean roared and slapped and tried to come up the hill. The power went at 3 in the afternoon and stayed gone. I texted Erin the simple things we had taped on the pantry door. She texted back, already doing them. Nathan called to ask if I needed the generator. I have a little one, I said. But go check on Mrs. Patel. She needs the big one more. And bring Deputy Collins a thermos. He'll be out till morning. Put our storm plan in motion like a dance we'd rehearsed. Erin came with a stack of blankets and a look I recognized. Calm on top, energy underneath. Nathan took a chainsaw to a limb that thought it lived on the driveway now. Clara brought a cooler of ice and sandwiches and a joke about lukewarm coffee. That made us all jealous of her for a second. We put a light in the hallway so old feet wouldn't stumble. We did the drip trick on the faucets. We checked on the neighbors and let one old dog sleep in the hallway, because dogs in storms are theology. Lily was not scared the way kids are sometimes. She was purposeful. Go bag, she said, and showed me the little backpack she'd made. After watching some video online, flashlight, water, a granola bar, a copy of our contact list, a photo of all of us. For if I forget who you are, she said. Then grinned like she knew she wouldn't, but she's not leaving it to chance. House moaned a little and then held. We slept to the sound of rain on real wood and woke to the clean quiet you get after the world spends the night washing. The trust paid for a new section of fence, a tree guy, a little piece of roof that had admitted it was tired. Nobody argued. Nobody hinted. This is what the paper is for when the sky shows off. The bad call came at noon, 2 days. Later, one of those old ugly tricks that has found a new home in our phones. The voice was a man who thought drama would make him sound official. This is Officer Jackson from the county jail. Your granddaughter's been picked up. She needs bail. Don't hang up. She's at school, I said. She was in a car. With friends, he said. Quicker. We need a payment in gift cards. What's the code word? I asked. Silence. I hung up. A month ago, after the party, Lily and I agreed that if anybody ever called me or her and said there was an emergency, we'd ask for a code word. She picked sailboat because we don't have one, and she likes to say words that feel like they have salt in them. Nathan rolled his eyes when we told him, and then admitted that if someone had asked him for a code word at 17, he probably would have cried and confessed to a thing he hadn't done. I called the school office just to be sure I wasn't. Being cavalier, she's in math, the secretary said, frowning. It's adorable. I told the deputy about the call. He said he'd add it to the long list of people who think people are dumb, and I said, we're getting less dumb by the hour. People must have gotten tired of seeing me at the recorder's office and the bank and the diner because Mayor Kemp asked if I'd help set up a neighborhood night at the library about deed scams and guardianship trickery and all the ways people try to turn kitchens into courts. I told him I'd show up and sit where they told me and not swear. He smiled like he'd heard that before. The library was full. Mrs. Lawson had set folding chairs in rows. And still people stood in the back, and leaned in. The recorder sent a clerk with a laptop and a list of real places to sign up for real alerts. Denise from the bank explained a factor like it was a recipe, not a test. Deputy Collins described every scam he'd heard this month and told us the only 3 things to do about them: hang up, call back the real number, and tell a neighbor. They let me talk for a minute. Don't sign at parties, I said. Don't. Sign in kitchens. Don't sign at all without a person you trust who knows the law in the room. If a kid tells you a thing that makes your chest feel like thunder, thank them and fix the weather. If someone wants a signature faster than pie gets cut, say no and put on a kettle. Paper that punishes you can wait until morning. After people came up, not because I had said anything new, but because I had said it like a man who almost learned it too late. Alina from Alvarez, watch and clock, was there with her mother. She pressed a tiny bag of bent watch hands into Lily's hand and said, 4 crafts, and Lily said, 4 confetti, and Alina said, same. Did one more thing that month I should have done sooner. I called Rachel and told her. Wanted to add Aaron as a co-successor trustee after me, next to Walt in the bank. She found the shutoff valve, I said. She sits in waiting rooms without her phone. She asks where the breaker is because she means it. If I want my kids to be trusted, the way to do that is to trust the ones who show up right. Smiled on the phone in a way I could hear. I'll draft an amendment, she said, plain and strong. I asked Erin to come over for dinner and told her at the table while the roast rested and the clock ticked. She cried in that way. She has small, clean tears with a brave mouth. You don't have to, she said, which is one of the reasons I want her to. I know, I said. I want to. I won't let you down, she said. You can. I said, and we'll fix it. That's what this whole year has been, didn't you notice? Keep getting it wrong and then slightly more right. I wrote something else too, the kind of letter people don't ask for and sometimes need more than the official ones. Rachel calls it an ethical will, called it what I owe you, and put it in the folder with the trust. It said, pay for. Your life with the money you have, if you lend to family, write it down and call it what it is. If you borrow, pay it back without a speech. Don't sign in a kitchen. Don't sign in a crisis. Make soup for the sick and don't keep track. One tool you're proud of and one you don't mind lending. Love isn't a pen, it's a chair. Sit down with people. If yours tries to do math for you, check it twice with a neighbor. And then Lily shocked me again in a way that made me sit down and put my hand on the table. The city council was talking about a program to send mailed deed alerts to seniors who didn't use computers. It was stuck, of course, because money likes to count itself before it takes care of people. Teresa from the school called and said, Lily is coming down here. Do you want to get her, or should I go with her? Said I'd meet them there, and walked faster than I should. They let her speak. Sometimes small towns remember what schools are for. Nathan told everyone at dinner that night how proud he was. Clara said she had Googled ethical will and cried at work, and then emailed HR, a suggestion about scammers and lunch and learns. Erin framed Lily's city coin with a photo of the two of them at the microphone. And when I asked if that was too much, she said, We're a napkin-on-like closet family, Dad. We are allowed to hang proof. A letter came a month later from the council thanking Lily for her civic engagement, which is a phrase that sounds like a chore until you see a 4th grader do it with a ponytail and a pencil. The first batch of paper deed alerts went out that week with a real phone number on them and a line that said, brought to you by people who show up, which I suspect was Mrs. Lawson's doing. Because librarians should run cities, time did its ordinary job after that. School started. Then it didn't. Because summer again. The ocean kept breathing. The clock kept ticking. I kept the folder where it belonged and didn't hide it because secrets make people stupid. Nathan kept his gym membership canceled and found a way to like running even when it made him mad. Erin learned to like that part of the hardware store that smells like tar. Clara grew on me in the way people do when you see them carry good weight in both hands. She still has an instinct for shortcuts. Now she texts me before she takes one and asks, is this a path or a hole? And sometimes I say, try it. And sometimes I say, tie a rope first. I still make toast on Tuesdays and put cinnamon on it because we made it a rule when things were hard. People ask me what I did when my granddaughter whispered that sentence in my porch ear. I tell them I left and smiled. I drove to a bank and a law office and a sheriff's desk and I built a fence. Then I came home and told the truth at the table where I built a life, and I kept telling it until it was the only story in the room. Then I did what surprised everyone who thought money was the point. I used it. I gave it jobs instead of feelings. Sometimes I sit with the little clock and wind it and think about Evelyn's laugh and say out loud that I'm sorry I took so long to learn something so simple. Then I think about Lily's voice on that stage and decide I didn't learn it late. I learned it right on time, asterisk. 2 months of quiet doesn't mean the story is over. It means you have time to practice being the person you said you were going to be. The week after Lily's city coin came in the mail, I wrote down 3 boring things on a blue card and put it on the fridge. Prepay the funeral, update the list. In the desk, show Aaron the file tree. I did all 3. Prepaying a funeral is not morbid. It's kind. Oh. I went to the small home where Evelyn's photo sits in a frame by the guest book and bought the simplest plan they offered. I said, no 15-car line. Coffee, pie, a chair for anyone who needs to sit. The woman behind the desk looked relieved. You'd be surprised how many people want fireworks, she said. I've seen enough fireworks, I said. Save them for the 4th. I updated the list in the desk. Front page. Who to call. Row 2, what they do. Bank, lawyer, doctor, deputy, the library, the church, the tool fund. I put the spare keys in the envelope where the list said they lived. I left a note for future me and the kids that said, if you are looking for something, slow down and breathe. It's here. I showed Aaron the file tree on the computer. The trust has its own folder. Inside, deeds, amendments, receipts, letters, the boring heroics. She wrote down the password on a card, and we put it in the safe deposit box. If I get hit by a bus, don't panic, I said. Call Rachel, then make coffee. Not everything was paperwork. Some of it was wood. The picnic table Evelyn and I made in 1983 needed new end boards. I measured, cut, sanded, and oiled while the ocean did its slow work in the background. Nathan showed up with a sander I didn't ask for and sanded without talking, which is a skill I prize almost as much as sanding. He grinned at the end. I get why you like this, he said. Shuts the brain up. It gives the brain a job, I said. Shutting it up is impossible. Kept the fences, and we kept opening the gates when the right people knocked. Then, I shocked everyone again, and not by accident. It started with a flyer from the assessor. Property values had jumped, taxes would follow. The letter used careful words to say we're going to need more. The number wasn't a crisis. It was irritation shaped like a bill. But it made me think about the house and what it would be when I wasn't using it anymore. I've watched this town lose too many porches to people who treat houses like raffle tickets. I don't want my place to be a chip in someone's game. I want it to be a home for as long as the bones can stand, up straight. For my family, if they want it, or for a nurse, a teacher, a guy like Trey who can fix anything and needs a good night's rest to do it. I called Rachel and asked about the thing people call a land trust, community land trust, she said. It's one way to keep a house in reach for real people. You put the land under the house into the trust. The trust gives a 99-year ground lease to whoever lives there. It keeps the price from going crazy. It keeps the title watched by grown-ups who read fine print for a living. Can I do that and still keep living here? I asked. You can, she said. Your trust can lease the ground and keep the house. It doesn't shrink your life. It shrinks the chance someone flips your home into a trophy. What happens to my kids? They still have first rights when you're gone, she said. They can live here under the ground lease. If they don't want to, the land trust. We'll help them sell the house under the ground lease rules to someone who meets the income limits. They get a fair share of the equity, not a lottery win, a living. The rest stays in the town, in the dirt where it can keep working. They'll be mad, I said. They might, she said. They might surprise you. I sat on the porch with the little clock and wound it while I thought about it. Evelyn had once said, we don't own this view. We are borrowing it. I heard her while the rope in my chest tugged this way and that and then settled. We met with the Community Land Trust at the library, Mrs. Lawson's idea. The director was a woman named Sam, with work boots and a gentle clipboard. She brought pictures of houses that look like ours and stories about families who stopped jumping every time. The mail came because the mortgage was suddenly reasonable and stayed that way. We don't take, she said. We hold. We keep track. Sure, houses keep being houses. Al signed the ground lease from the Henry Walker Living Trust to the Shoreline Community Land Trust on a Thursday morning with Rachel at my left and Sam at my right, and that same calm feeling I had the day I titled the deed into the trust. It didn't make me smaller. It made the map more honest. That afternoon, I called the kids to the table. Erin came first, because she likes to know what she's absorbing before her brother starts with his jokes. Nathan and Clara came late because they had to find a sitter. Lily sat at the end with her pencil because she takes notes even when nobody asks her to. I signed something today, said, and let them feel their brains catch up. I put the land under this house in a community land trust. The house stays in our family trust. I can live here as long as my bones and brains say yes. After me, you can live here under the ground lease or sell it under the ground lease rules to someone who qualifies. No flipping, no lottery ticket, a home. Nathan's face did the thing it does when a thought wants to jump out and play stupid in public. He caught it. So, less money later, he said. More house now, I said. More home later. More breathing room for a nurse who wants to sleep before the 5 a.m. shift. Less chance Dale shows. The land trust did its job in quiet ways no one clapped for. When a sketchy mailer came 2 weeks later that looked like an official bill and wasn't, Sam called me before I called her. It's junk, she said. 10 titles, eh? Month from this kind of thing. Rip it up. The taxes came and were a little lower because of the lease rules that like houses to be homes, not chips. The mail felt less dangerous. That is a luxury. I paid for it gladly. Fall brought its own tests. I decided to grab a light bulb over the sink without grabbing a step stool, because sometimes I am still a man who thinks his balance is the same as it was at 30. I slipped. I didn't fall hard. I fell in a way that makes you swear even if you're in a church, the urgent care doctor said. Hairline fracture, and looked at me over his glasses like he was deciding whether to add the word old. I'd beat him to it. I know, I said. I'll use the stool next time. Erin showed up with a tote bag and took me home with the bossy kindness Evelyn taught her. We'll sit, she said. We will do the things. If you argue, I will tell everyone at church you cried. We did the things. She called the visiting nurse. She used the healthcare directive we wrote to get my prescription without making anyone break a rule. Yes. Nathan rehung a grab bar in the bathroom like a man who loves his dad enough to not pretend the grab bar is a moral choice. Clara brought soup she didn't make. We still thanked her. The trust did what it is built to do. The next day, a bill came for the urgent care. I scanned it to the trust email on my computer, hit a button, paid it from the trust account. While the dogwood out front soaked up the kind of rain that cleans air, Dale tried later. Of course he did, called Erin because he isn't brave. Enough to call me anymore? And asked if she'd walk me back from the crazy. She told him she'd walk him to a chair if he wanted to sit and listen while she read the ground lease rules. He hung up. A week later, he posted a small thing on a big social media page about greedy old people who hide their money in trusts. Lily saw it. Erin told her not to feed trolls. Lily didn't. She wrote, trusts pay for plumbers when pipes break, and for free pizza when fourth graders fundraise for tools, and left it there like a little rock in the path. People who needed the rock stepped on it and got where they were going. Sam from the land. Trust asked if I'd speak at their luncheon. Said no because I don't like rubber chicken or standing up at podiums unless my grandkid is with me. Laughed and put me at a table with 2 families thinking about it. They asked the same question 4 ways. How do we tell our kids? I said slowly. With pie, tell them you are turning a house into a home on purpose. Gate in the fence. Telling them you will be the first people the trust calls after they're called. Tell them you want them to live in a place, not cash in a ticket. Tell them mad is allowed, If they can't get there right away, tell them you'll keep the light on while they figure it out. The tools fund kept getting small wins. Bought a set of harnesses for a roofing program so nobody had to risk their spine because nobody had $100. Chef Morales started coming to one of the Saturday classes to show kids how to make tortillas on a griddle after they'd spent the morning pulling wire. Food is a tool, he said. It's better than sugar at 4 o'clock. He was right. Those kids stood taller after a tortilla. I did too. Lily's change jar, she put a sticker on it that said, "Not slime stayed by our front door," with a slit in the lid. People put 1s and 5s in whatever felt like a vote. She counted every Sunday like it was communion. One last surprise for me came in winter. At Alvarez, Watch and Clock, Alina leaned over the counter and said, "We're closing for a week in January. Mom wants me to take a class. Want to keep the shop open for 50 more years and still make money doing it." "What class?" I asked. "Accounting," she said, making a face. "I know. I hate that I'm excited." I laughed. "Hate it and still do it," I said. "It's most of being a grown-up." She pushed a small paper bag across the counter. "Mom found this cleaning the drawers," she said. Another little bag of bent hands, a confetti. Or a mobile for a baby who likes shiny things. I took it and took a slow walk to the pier, because if you don't mark good days, the bad ones think they own the calendar. The ocean was gray and loud. The air was the kind of cold that makes your teeth remember they are made of rock. I thought about the way my life had turned into a string of small choices that kept me safe in rooms where my name lived on paper. I thought about the bigger one I made with a ground lease and a simple sentence to my kids. I thought about the child who whispered and the man who left and smiled and what we built between those two acts. The next morning, I wrote Lily another letter for the folder. It said, "When someone tells you you're brave, ask them what they are going to do next and make them get specific. When someone tells you you're overreacting, ask them what they would do if they were you. If they have no plan, smile and go to the bank. Eat cinnamon on toast, even when nothing is on fire." By the good wrench, I put the letter in the trust folder right under the ground lease, above the list of who to call if the storm is bigger than your porched on life as it will, went on. The porch was more often quiet than loud. The phone rang for ordinary reasons. People came by for pie and advice, and to borrow a ladder every once in a while. I still get asked, "So what did you do when your granddaughter whispered that thing in your ear?" I keep my answer simple. I left and smiled, I say. I went where the pen wasn't in someone else's hand. I built fences that had gates. I paid the bills for storms that hadn't happened yet. I used money the way you use a hammer to build, not to hit. And then, when it worked, I told everyone who needed to hear it so they'd know where to find a gate of their own. If you want me to keep going, I will. About the spring, Lily convinced the school to add a "don't sign at parties" line to the family newsletter. The summer, Nathan coached Trey through his first real job estimate and didn't make it about himself. The fall, Aaron ran a clinic at the library on breaker panels, and 3 women showed up in gardening gloves and left, smiling in the winter when the dogwood blossomed early, and we all pretended it was a sign from Evelyn that she approved of the ground lease and the life under it,